Hi, Chris. I hope all is well. I have a computer rendering of your ring finished. Let me pull it into view here. So this is what I have. A couple things before I really get into it. The way I build these is a little heavy on the computer because I need that extra material through the finishing process of polishing, stone setting, things like that. So if things look a little big or heavy, I do that on purpose and just try to look at the overall design here, not too much at the details of the of what's around the stones. For instance, the wrap here and the wrap here, you can see well, you can see how this sort of has some variegation to it. Some it doesn't look very smooth. I still have a little bit of finishing work to do on that, and I do a lot of this by hand in the end too. So this gets all smoothed out, pushed over the diamonds, and becomes a lot tighter in the final setting process. So things do look a little heavier and bigger now than they will in the end. Um, so when I come down at this view like this, you can see that I have these curves, this curve and this curve, just like the sketch. And let me actually, you know what, let me see if I can pull the sketch in 1 second. Okay, so here's the sketch. Um, when I'm looking at it from top down, I've got, so you can see these curves coming up right here. And again, this is going to get smoothed out better. And I have a little bit more to do in here, and then by hand it's gonna really smooth out much better. But this is my, it's pretty close. So I've got that curve coming up. I did sort of take some artistic liberty and change this area a little bit. It wasn't, when I was sketching this out, I wasn't too sure how this was gonna work out in the end anyways. I did it initially and I didn't like it, so I took it away. And let me show you what I did instead. So if I bring this around, you're going to see that instead of, I sort of did like a ball up in the sketch, and instead of that for the real thing, I brought around a separate curve. So you can see this main curve coming up and coming into this wrap, whereas that, where this ball was going to be, I brought up and just made its own sort of ridge right here. It's just much more fluid, and I think it works out better. So one thing I do want to point out is, let's go back to this view. This, you see how my wraps come up and end right at the diamond here? In my CAD, you can see the wrap comes all the way past the diamond. That's going to get folded over through in setting, and it's going to be much tighter there. So it's going to look like the sketch when it's done. I have to have that extra material there to work with initially. Let's see. Other than that, I like the side. It's got this cool sort of undulation to it. You can see, let me move this now. I just like I do really like this design. I like how on this side it mirrors, you know, each side mirrors itself in an interesting way. And when you look at it like this, I love this curve coming up and around. I think that works out really well. I think that's going to look really sharp when it's done. Now, for a wedding band, we're going to have to do something that interlocks with this, that follows this curve. There's really no way I can make it completely flat just by the nature of the design. So a wedding band we're going to have to make to actually follow this curve in and out, which we do a lot, and there's nothing wrong with it. Some people really like it, so I think it looks good. I did the squared off corners here, which we do on almost all our rings. I can take that off later if you don't like it, but I've never had anyone take that off. So it's very comfortable. It provides a nice counterweight to the sort of hot top heaviness of this. I think this is really cool. I think it worked out really nice.